Hi guys, today's review is not on color contacts but on a beauty product that I've been obsessed with lately. So foundations, let's talk foundations for a second. Foundations are like a sore subject for me because I have a skin that is not too bad, but occasionally it totally flips out and like starts breaking out for no reason and just has a mind of its own. And so for at least like a week or two out of every month, I will have skin that is just so broken out and so sensitive, and it's just ridiculous, right? So in my normal days and my normal times, my go-to foundation would be like MAC Mineralized Skin Finish, which has kind of like a light to medium coverage. I also am very much a fond of Chanel Perfection Lumiere, but this is not an everyday foundation. I do wear it a few times a month though, because this one is drier. Like MAC's Mineralized foundation is luminous, and I really love the luminous touch. If like a foundation is glowy, I really like that. Chanel's a bit matter. It's drier looking. I absolutely love YSL foundations. I am between BR40 and BR30. I usually mix them, although I really love BR40 because it's a little bit darker, and on my pale skin it gives me the appearances of being suntanned. So my skin tone in MAC is NW20, and so in YSL that's BR40 to BR30, I guess. And in Chanel, my shades are 32 Beige Rose and 22 Beige Rose, which I mix. I always have to mix my foundations. I've actually almost never had foundation where I wouldn't have to mix one. So anyways, so these are the foundations that you can find me wearing on the days that I am doing all right with my skin. But like I said, there are times when my skin just flips out and needs an extra coverage, extra help. And I really hate to use like a lot of concealers. I don't contour my face all that much. So I just want something that I can like put on and get out, you know. Anyways, so I have been researching foundations that would have like top coverage. And I've tried Kat Von D, which I really like actually. But I am having a little bit of trouble coming up with a color that is just for me. I've tried like 46, 56. I'm kind of in between everywhere. So I've heard of Vichy. Some people call it Vichy. And I was like, you know, I'm gonna try that. So it's considered like a drugstore brand, you know, but it is not drugstore price, because Vichy USA or Vichy USA is where I got my foundation from. They are going for like $36, I think, per foundation. So I wouldn't say it's like cheap, you know, but I've heard a lot about the foundation. I've researched it before I bought it. So I bought 2 colors in advance because I knew that I would be in between the colors. So I bought their 15 Opal, which I believe their second lightest is the second lightest, and then I bought 25 Nude, which is the third or middle color, and they don't have a lot of variety. There's only like 4 shades maybe, which is kind of ridiculous, right? They also don't have like cool tone, warm tone. They just have 4 or 5 colors, and that's all you get. I also bought the concealers for both number 15 Opal and number 25. Alright, so what I have to do with my foundations is I mix them. So I take half of 15 and half of 25, and this is what I come up with. I come up with something like that. Right now I am wearing the foundation. I'm going to film myself when my skin is just absolutely ridiculous, and I'm going to insert it in the video where you can see me totally without makeup, where my skin is at its worst, and I'm gonna show you what the foundation does to cover. But let me go ahead and swatch the number 15 for you. I would say number 15 is cool tone. See that? This is what 15 looks like. So if I applied it just on its own, it would be too pink and too light. because my skin tone is more kind of like beige or neutral, I should say. This is 25, which on its own, I'm so glad I didn't get it on its own because it's way dark for me on its own. There it is. And I hope you can see the texture of this foundation, of this brand, because it is really, really creamy and it blends right into the skin. So this is 25 and this is 15. And the texture, I don't even know what brand I can compare it to, because maybe Kat Von D, but Kat Von D dries matter than this, but maybe the texture would be very, very close to that. So here's the swatch for 25, here's the swatch for 15. The foundation, when you put it on, kind of your skin will kind of drink it in and it will be completely dry, but it's not matte looking, it's not completely matte looking. And so you can wear your clothes, you can rub your face on your pillow or whatever, and it's not gonna transfer. And this is what I love about this foundation. And so also, I bought both the concealers, but I don't need them because I mean, this will cover anything you have going on, anything at all. Right now, I'm not doing so good on my skin, and people have been asking me, what are you using? Your skin looks amazing. And that's always nice to hear because, you know, I'm not in my 20s anymore, and my skin's definitely having, well, my skin is aging, and it's always really nice to hear that it looks amazing when I know that when I take my makeup off, it doesn't always look amazing. In fact, sometimes it looks far from it. But these are the boxes for the foundation. I always save my boxes until I do the videos. So yeah, I'm not really sure how much the concealers were, but I think they were $21, and foundations were $36. I want to say that. This one is a stick corrector in number 25. I don't know where my number 15 is, but I'll find it somewhere. But see, oh gosh, see, this is the concealer or stick corrector on me, and I mix them too. I mix 15 and 25 together. It's much thicker than the foundation. I know some people that break out a whole lot use the corrector stick just by itself in place of a foundation. That's, you know, on those days when I'm really, really bad, I can use the mixture of the two, and that works fine. It is important to pick the right primer for such foundation because it's not your regular foundation. It's much thicker, so it can be much cakier. So to apply this foundation, my favorite brush to apply this foundation is Sigma Round Kabuki, and it's F82. This is my go-to brush. This is what I apply all of my foundations with, but this works like a charm with thicker, fuller foundations. And as far as the primers, my most favorite primer is Face Forward Primer by Alison Raphael. I'm sorry, I can't tell you how much it is. I have no clue. It's probably around 40 bucks. But this one is anti-acne, so it's been keeping my skin pretty good lately. It still breaks out, but it does do something. Other kind of foundation that I like to use is Face Primer by Korres. This is a vitamin E face primer. Those are my two favorite, and I'm really leaning towards Alison Raphael because it's much less moisturizing, I guess. I don't know. You know, you always have to put your moisturizer, then you put your face primer, then you put your foundation, and I wait like 5 minutes in between each application of each, you know, primer, lotion, whatever. But this Alison Raphael one's been working extremely well with the Vichy foundation and the corrector concealer stick. So foundations, you know, I'm really, really happy with. This is the mixture that I mixed for myself that matches my skin tone a lot better. Here, I'm gonna put it on so you can see it just like soaks right into the skin, and then it's fine. So I bought these about 4 months ago, and I've only used about a third, and I use a lot of it, so they are very practical. So you don't need a whole lot. You'd need just a couple. Like, I would put my brush in a couple of times only, and I would just like apply it all over, and I would do one layer, one very thin layer, and then I would walk away for 5 minutes, and then I'll come back and put one more, and sometimes I'll put a little bit more under the eye, and that's all you need. So overall, I really do recommend this foundation for people that have a lot of breakouts. And sometimes I use this foundation as a concealer, just like in spots, and then I use other foundations to cover all over. But overall, I'm extremely happy with this foundation, and I really don't regret spending the money. It's money well spent. It's a pretty cool foundation. I really like it a lot. So, alright, so right now I don't have any makeup on. All I've done is I put on moisturizer and a face primer, and lately I've been using Alison Raphael Face Forward Primer. This is the anti-acne primer, and I've been really loving it. So, as I mentioned previously, Vichy, they have very little selection, so I had to take the number 25, which is nude, and number 15, which is opal, and I had to mix them all together. And so I just mix them separately in a little container, and that's what I use. Usually this foundation is sufficient to put on by itself, and it wouldn't even need concealer, because their concealers, I have also both the concealers in opal and 25, and even if I mix them, they're just not coming out the right color. The 25 is way too dark and opal is way too pink, and even if I mix them, they don't look perfect. So, but like I said, this foundation has such amazing coverage that you don't need a concealer almost ever. So to apply this foundation, I usually use my Sigma brushes, and F84, I like it specifically for this foundation because it has a good angle to get under the eye area and stuff. So anyways, and all I do is I just put a little tiny bit on the end of my brush, and I just start blending it. And it is really, really opaque. This foundation has a great coverage, so don't put too much. You need very little. So anyways, I usually like stipple it on my face and kind of leave it there for a second or a few seconds just so the foundation can warm up, and then I start going from there, blending it out. And usually I would use a lot less of this foundation than any other foundation that I normally use. Usually it does not have any issues covering all of my breakouts and under eye area. And I don't use this foundation every single day, but I use it especially on those days when I am breaking out, which is at least once a month for a week or so. So I get in between the, like under the eye area and the nose area, just making sure. And so I will do one coat, and then I'll kind of let it dry for maybe a minute or so. I also put it on my eyes instead of a primer because it doesn't crease, which is really nice. Anyways, after I apply one coat, I see if I need to apply another coat or if I just want to cover specific areas a little bit more. And that's what I do. And I will show you in a second what the finished look is. Anyways, this foundation can get really cakey only if you put too much on. If you leave a thin layer and use a thicker layer only in the spots that you really need more coverage in, then you'll be perfectly fine and it would not look so cakey. But anyways, you can see that it covered everything and it did not need more than one coat. So under the eyes, sometimes what I would do is I would use Prep and Prime by MAC, and my favorite one is in Light Boost because it's perfect color for me. My MAC's skin tone is about NW17, or sometimes I even mix, in MAC I mix neutral and cool tone foundations. I'm just I've never found a foundation that was like exact match to my skin. So I always have to come up with stuff and mix my own. I just put the Prep and Prime under my eyes just to lighten up the area. Not necessarily concealing anything, but just lighten it up to make it look like I'm well rested. And that's all it takes. I mean, foundation is pretty amazing. It takes just a couple of minutes to cover the whole face. It stays throughout the day. Sometimes I can reapply a little bit around my nose area because maybe I'm touching my face or whatever. I don't even set it because when I set my foundation, sometimes I find that you can see fine wrinkles a little bit more. If I were to set this foundation, I would either use the same powder from the same company, or I would use my banana powder, or I also sometimes use the Mineralized Skin Finish by MAC. My shade is medium. If I was going out somewhere where I would sweat, or where I would, you know, where I would be afraid my foundation would melt, maybe it's a hot day out, I would set it. And here's the Ben Nye banana powder. It's a really cool product. I should do a review on it. It's a yellow-based powder that looks really natural when you apply it on, and it stays forever. And it doesn't make your wrinkles show as much as others can. So there you go. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave me your comments, ask questions if you have any, and let me know if you've used this brand, if you've liked it. I don't set it, by the way. I don't set it because it will be cakey. I sometimes spray it with Fix Plus, but I don't usually do anything because it dries just fine. It settles into your fine lines and wrinkles just fine. You don't have to set it. If you set it, it's probably gonna be a little more cakey than it should be. Also, if it is cakey, try to apply a little less of it, because it becomes cakey when there's too much of it. And it's really easy to put too much of it because you really don't need much foundation with this brand. Anyways, that's all for today, and thank you so much for watching.